Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Hannah and I film all things lifestyle. I haven't done one of these in a while. It's actually been since like March. Just because I haven't been updating YouTube doesn't mean I haven't been reading. I'm like super close to reaching my goal of 70 books this year. I think I'm at like 53 books, so I'm super close to getting there. And this is just a stack of some of the books that I've read since March. So yeah, let's get into the video. So if you haven't watched any of my book reviews, then I'll kind of just run down my rating scale. And you know, if you love a book that I rate a 2 stars, then that's totally fine. Like, we all have different opinions when it comes to books. I love nonfiction. I love romance novels, thrillers, that kind of stuff. That's like my forte. You know, if you're not into that, then that's okay. My scale of 5. A 5 is a book that I absolutely love and I will read that book again. I will keep it on my shelf and I won't give it away because, you know, I want to read it again sometime in the future. A 4 is a book that I really loved, but I won't necessarily read it again, but I would recommend it. A 3 is a book where, you know, I enjoyed reading it, but would I recommend it? Probably not. And would I read it again? Probably not. A 2 is like, I read the book, I kind of hated it, but I still had to finish it, and you know, I would never recommend it and I would never pick it up again. And then a 1 is like an absolutely DNF, like I did not finish that book. So yeah, that's kind of like the scale of what I rate books. Okay, so the last book I remember telling you guys about is the Anna Huang series of If We Ever Meet Again series. I did read the second book to that series and it's called If the Sun Never Sets. So that's kind of what it looks like. I did the audiobook of this. And again, it really wasn't my favorite. I think that it's more of a younger adult type book. They're fun to listen to. I like listening to young adult books. Especially I do like Anna Huang as a author. She wrote the Twisted Men series and I'm absolutely obsessed with those. So they're pretty different in comparison. I think that's probably why I wasn't super obsessed with this series, because her Twisted Men series is just so good. I don't think anything can top it. So after that, I was on like a young adult, young love, coming of age kick. And I did start to read the Summer I Turned Pretty series by Jenny Han. And I absolutely love this series. I think it was super cute. I mean, a lot of the characters are super immature and there's some things in there that I kind of rolled my eyes about. But overall, I did really love the series. I read all 3 of the books and I gave them 4 stars each. So the next book that I read in the month of April was the second book in the Bridgerton series by Julia Quinn, The Viscount Who Loved Me. I almost forgot it for a second. This is the second time I'm reading this series. I absolutely love the Bridgerton series. I give all the books 5 stars, although Colin's book isn't necessarily my favorite, but when I read it the second time, I did love it. I've talked about these books probably plenty of times, and if you haven't read them, I highly recommend them, especially if you're getting into more romance and period pieces. These are great books for you. I'm a part of a book club, and it's actually my best friend's book club. Her name is Sarah, and it's called Sarandipity Book Club. So she has 3 different like branches of this book club. One is the original book club, which we're reading kind of like a variety of different genres. The second book club is the series book club, which we are reading the Bridgerton series right now. So I think we're on book like 5 in the series, or 4 or 5. And then she has the Classics Book Club, which we read a lot of classic novels. We were doing a lot of like period piece novels, Jane Austen, Charlotte Bronte, that kind of stuff. And now we're switching over to like Agatha Christie, more mystery novels. So if you're looking for a book club and you want to be a part of an amazing book club, then look up Serendipity Book Club. I will have it linked below for you guys. Come and join. We do weekly Zoom meetings, and if you can't ever attend, it's okay. There's not a lot of, I don't want to say responsibility, but there's not a lot of like rules. As long as you don't read ahead in the book is the only rule. But yes, we love it. I've been a part of it for 3 years now, since the pandemic, and it has, you know, boosted my love for reading. Speaking of Serendipity Book Club, also in the month of April, we read Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby, and this book has been on my want to read shelf for a while. And I was so happy we were finally able to read this for the book club. It is so good. It's kind of like a murder mystery and a revenge novel, and there's a lot of like high action-packed scenes. There's some gore to it, which I am not really a huge gore lover, so I kind of cringed at those parts, but I really did love this book. So this is another 5-star book from me. I would read this again, and I would highly recommend reading it because I've never read something like this. Kind of a synopsis of this book is it's like two dads coming together and they become kind of vigilantes because their two sons who are married were murdered. So cops aren't doing much about it and they decide to become vigilantes and, you know, seek justice on their own. And it is just really a really great book. So definitely 5 stars from me. The next book that I read in the month of April was Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. My goal this year is to actually read all of Jane Austen's novels, and the Classics Book Club has helped me with that. We've now read 2 of her novels. Really love this book. It's about 3 sisters, but it really focuses on 2 of the sisters and their struggle with kind of like losing their status as very rich and well off, and then the patriarch of the family dies, so they kind of lose that wealth and they have to live a more simplistic lifestyle, and there's some drama in it, and it always has a happy ending with a little bow wrapped on top. So I really love this book, and I always love books that have movies or like a series, and the BBC series of this is amazing. So this is another 5-star review from me. So the last book that I read in the month of April was another Jane Austen novel, Pride and Prejudice. This is like one of my favorite series ever. If you know me, you know that I love the Pride and Prejudice BBC series. It's like 6 or 8 different episodes, and Colin Firth is in it, and that series holds a special place in my heart because me and my mom would watch it all the time. And it's just like my comfort show. It took me a while to actually like listen to it because it's like watching the series. So I'm really happy that I did because I've always wanted to read Pride and Prejudice. Again, you already know this is a 5 stars for me. Moving into the month of May, I have 2 books that I read by Mary Kay Andrews. One of them is The Homewreckers, which I had a physical copy, but I actually gave it away. But this is what it looks like. I read that. And then I read The Newcomer. I really liked these books. I gave them 4 stars each. One of them, actually, I think it's The Newcomer. The Newcomer is set kind of in Tampa, Florida. It's set in Treasure Island, Florida, which is like really close to St. Pete. So I just really loved it. It's about a woman who escapes from an abusive situation. Her sister ends up murdered, and she takes her niece and kind of flees to Florida and is protecting her. And yeah, I just really liked this book. I think it was really cute. So 4 stars for me. Would I read it again? Probably not. But did I really love it? Yes. The Homewreckers, it's kind of, if you're into like house renovations, house remodels, then it's perfect because this book is kind of like that. It's about a woman who flips houses, but she takes historic houses and makes them alive once again, basically. So there is kind of like a murder in this book. It's suspicious, there's a love story, and it was really cute. I loved it. The next book that I read was Dreamland by Nicholas Sparks, and this is another book that's set in St. Pete. It's actually set at the Don Cesar here in St. Pete, and it was super cute to read it and read about, you know, stuff that I know that's around me. It was really cute. And there's kind of a twist in this story, which I feel like there are some twists in Nicholas Sparks novels, but it ends up being a really great love story, and I'm glad that I read it. I really want to read all of Nicholas Sparks novels. I know there's a lot, but I'm not going to get it done this year, but eventually I want to be able to read them all. So I did give this one 4 stars. The next 2 books that I read in the month of May, which this was the month that I was getting married, so you know, I didn't read as much, but I still kind of read a lot, not gonna lie, was Archer's Voice. And this book was so freaking good. I audiobooked this, and kind of about a woman who, you know, leaves her home and looking for a new start. She ends up kind of falling in love with the misunderstood boy of the town, and he can't speak, so she actually knows sign language, and they communicate that way, and she's like the only person who has really tried to communicate with Archer. This is a cute romance novel. I really loved it, and it was just perfect, so I highly recommend it. 5 stars for me for that. So the last novel that I read in May was Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This was just such a cute novel. I really loved it. I gave it 5 stars because a cute rom-com. It's about an ice like figure skater and then a hockey player, and they're both like kind of competing for the rink space. She wants to become like she wants to do the Olympics or something like that, and he wants to become like a professional hockey player. Kind of like enemies to lovers type story. So if you love enemies to lovers, then you're gonna love this book. It was super, super cute. Moving into June, we have our first book of June, which was An Offer from a Gentleman. This is the 3rd book in the Bridgerton series, and this is Benedict's book, actually. This is one of my favorite books. I love it. It's kind of like a Cinderella story, play on a Cinderella story, and I absolutely love these books. So this is a 5 stars for me. Now moving into books that I actually read on my honeymoon. The first one is Georgie All Along. And honestly, I really didn't like this novel that much. I gave it 3 stars because I was just kind of bored throughout the whole novel. I know that this is a really popular book, in my opinion. I just really wasn't. Maybe it was because I was traveling, I don't know, but I just wasn't like thrilled by it. Maybe this is like the trope that I'm just not into. This is about a girl named Georgie who is like a personal assistant in Los Angeles, and then she leaves her, career in Los Angeles to move back home. It's kind of like a forced proximity, which I do actually like those. I did get a 3 stars, and I'll probably end up giving this one away. The next book that I read during our honeymoon was Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. And if you've never seen this movie, I highly recommend watching it because it is super cute. I loved it. One of the main reasons why I wanted to read this book is because we went to Singapore on our honeymoon, and it was just perfect, like reading it while I was in Singapore. Short synopsis of it, it's about, the title kind of gives it away. It's about crazy rich Asians that live in Singapore. The main character, Rachel, falls in love with this boy in New York who she didn't really know comes from a super, super rich family. And then he invites her to his cousin's wedding in Singapore. Yeah, she experiences a bunch of different cultural things, rich versus her just being raised by her mother, and she uncovers some things from her past that she didn't know happened, and it's just a perfect love story. So 5 stars for me, definitely. The next book that I read in the month of June was Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. This is her 3rd book that she's published, and I absolutely love Ali Hazelwood as an author. If you've never read any of her books, then I highly recommend starting with The Love Hypothesis, and then her 2nd book, which is Love on the Brain. And then her 3rd one she just came out with is Love Theoretically. I just absolutely love her. She's what I would call a STEMinist, like rom-com author. She loves writing about science and women in STEM. I really just love these books. They're super, super fun. So yeah, these are all of her books. I highly recommend reading them. The next book that I read in the month of June was The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. And this is like a thriller, spooky novel, kind of like flips back and forth between like the 50s and then present day, or like 2007, something like that. It's about like a boarding school. Some of the girls go missing, they get murdered, and it's kind of uncovering the truth about what's happened to these girls. It's really good. I love these books. They're super suspenseful and keep you on your toes, and Simone St. James is a great author. We also read this for our book club, the OG book club. The next book that I read in June was Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, which is another book that has a movie adaptation, and I absolutely loved it. It has Emma Watson in it. There's a lot of good actresses in that book, or in that movie. This is kind of like, I feel like it's a children's novel in a way. It's also directed towards adults, so it can kind of be both. Oh my god, I just found this. I just found this bookmark in here. That's fun. So it's a story about the March Girls, and it's a group of 4 sisters, and kind of like their journey coming of age in early American society almost. And each sister has their own different personality, and it's just a fun, cute book. I really loved the movie, and I think there's a series adaptation to it as well. I believe I watched that. But I gave this one 4 stars just because I don't think I'll ever read it again, but I'm happy that I did read it. The next book that I read was The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. And this was a really, really cute book. It's about a female bodyguard that goes and protects like a superstar. He's an actor, I believe. He's like a really famous actor. And they end up, you know, kind of falling in love with each other. I only gave it 4 stars though, because I don't think I'll read it again. The next book that I read was Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This book is so good. This is like a thriller novel. It's about like a family that gets stuck at their grandmother's house and a lot of murders happen. It's kind of like a whodunit, but with a twist that you don't necessarily see coming, and it is so good. I highly recommend this book. I would read it again, and that's why I gave it 5 stars. I've kind of been on like a thriller kick lately. So after I read Daisy Darker, I also read Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. This book is like a book I've never read before. It is kind of like a thriller or a mystery. It's from the perspective of the main character, and she actually like witnesses her son murdering somebody. But then when she wakes up the next day, it's like the day before. And then it keeps going back in past. It has a lot of twists in it. It was just kind of like perfectly written and something I've never read before. So I also highly recommend this book as well. The next book that I read was The Perfect Marriage. Again, kind of on a thriller kick. It has a bunch of twists and stuff. I kind of saw some of the twists coming. Like, I don't want to give too much away, but this was a really good book as well, and I did give it 5 stars. So I'm kind of on a 5-star kick right now. Those last 3 thriller books that I read were just really, really good, and I loved them. We also read this for our book club book, and it was the perfect kind of book club book to talk about. The last book that I read in June was Romancing Mr. Bridgerton by Julia Quinn. Now this is the 3rd book in her series, the Bridgerton series, and this is Colin's book. So they're actually coming out with Colin's season next instead of Benedict's, which I don't know why they're doing that. You know, I have opinions on it, I'm just gonna leave it alone. This book was maybe my least favorite out of all the books, but I still kind of flew through it and it was still good. It just wasn't my favorite. That's it. I still give it 5 stars because I'm reading it again, and I most likely will probably read it again in the future. Now moving into the month of July. So I'm gonna kind of group these books together because I read them kind of back to back. So I read the To All the Boys I Have Loved Before series, and it's a 3-part series by Jenny Han, who wrote The Summer I Turned Pretty. So out of the 2 series, I actually love To All the Boys I've Loved Before more than The Summer I Turned Pretty, because I just love the love story between Laura Jean and Peter. I just think they're so cute. I mean, obviously this is more of a young adult book and a coming of age story, but I really, really love them, and I do highly recommend them. I gave them all 5 stars. For our classics book club, we read Emma by Jane Austen. It's kind of different from the other Jane Austen novels. Like, Emma's pretty well off, whereas the other books, you know, they're all kind of from lower class. Emma's a very like strong female character. She likes to be a matchmaker and likes to play matchmaker between her friends, and sometimes it can get her into trouble. But I think she's really spunky, and she's actually played by one of my favorite actresses, Anya Taylor-Joy, in the movie. So I really did love this book. I gave it 4 stars though, because I don't know if I'm gonna read it again. We're down to the last 2 books that I've read, which one of those was Happy Place by Emily Henry. So I've read all of Emily Henry's novels, and she's one of my favorite authors as well. So here is what the book looks like. I actually bought this one from Target, no shock there. Honestly, I have to be straight up. I was not a huge fan of this book. I was kind of disappointed. Emily Henry is a great author in general. Like, the book kept me interested. But I'm not a huge fan of this trope. It's kind of like a lovers to broken up to lovers again, which if you're into that, then this is a great book for you. I'm not entirely into that. Yes, this is very realistic, but that just annoys me. I was so annoyed by how they didn't communicate at all. I could go way into how I wasn't necessarily a big fan of this book, but was it still good? Yes. Did I necessarily love it? No. Would I recommend it to everyone? Not really. No shame against Emily Henry. I absolutely love Emily Henry, and this was just kind of a flop for me, so I did give it 3 stars. And then the final novel that I just finished was Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey. This is the 2nd book in the A Vine Mess series, and I actually read the Secretly Yours book kind of in the last video that I posted. This is kind of like the 2nd novel to that. It's about the sister of the boy in the first novel who she's getting into a relationship, like a marriage of convenience. Again, not my favorite trope whatsoever. She wants like her trust fund, and that's why she's marrying him, because of some old rule that she has to be married to get her trust fund. She's honestly just whines the whole novel, and I think that she's very immature when she doesn't get her way. I also didn't necessarily love the male character in this as well. It's like an ex-Navy SEAL, and it's very kind of stereotypical to me. So again, like I just have not been a big fan of the last 2 books that Tessa Bailey has released. I love Tessa Bailey too. Like my 3 favorite authors are Taylor Jenkins Reid, Emily Henry, and Tessa Bailey. Like those are my 3 favorite. And then I also do love Colleen Hoover as well. So I'll say 4 favorite authors. And she just hasn't been doing it for me. So I did give this one a 3 stars as well. Okay, so if you stuck around this long to the end of the video, or even if you just fast forwarded to the end of the video, then you know that I am doing a giveaway for the books that I read in the past couple months. I kind of want to do 3 different winners. One, I'm going to do a classics giveaway of the books that I've read. So that includes Little Women, Emma by Jane Austen, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, and Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. So one winner will get the classics books, and then I'm gonna do a thriller book giveaway, which this one is kind of like a thriller, or it's more like a vigilante book, but I'm still gonna group it with these. Another winner is gonna get all of these thriller books. And then lastly, I have kind of the romance or love story novels that I'm going to be giving away, which that includes all of these books. So I'm going to have 3 giveaway winners. So kind of the rules to win the books is 1, make sure you're subscribed to my channel. 2, like this video up above. 3, leave a comment below of what your favorite book is and your reading goal for the year. And then 4, leave like some type of your Instagram handle or something like that so that I can contact you and let you know that you are the winner. And if you're not already, please go and follow my Instagram. I'll kind of leave a little picture on the next slide or here. First winner will get to choose what topic or genre of book that they want, and then I'll kind of go from there. I'll give the second winner choice out of the 2, and then the third winner will get the rest of the books. All right, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.